I'm gonna start the process of reorganizing my sewing room. Right now, it is a total disaster in this space. When we first moved into this apartment, I did a video on basically designing the space, getting everything organized, and I was really happy with the way that everything turned out. I've been using this space now for over a year, a little over a year. I would like to get things a little bit more organized because, to be quite frank, it's been really hard to keep this space organized. Now, that could just be a matter of my own disorganized personality, or it could be a matter of the functioning of this space in general. I'm at a point where every time I walk in here, I have to completely clean up in order to get started on a project. I would like to have a system in place that makes it a little bit easier to start each project. I also need a better system for storing some of my filming equipment. So I've got a light, a big light right behind this camera here. I've got a light here, off to the side. I've got several different pieces of equipment that I just didn't have when I first started this channel and when I first moved into this room. So my storage needs are a little bit different now, and so I need to make some space for some of those things. This closet is my main focus today. I'm gonna pull everything out of this closet and I'm gonna start going through all of the fabric and the clothing. I'll probably start with the clothing because I think that'll be the easiest thing. I kind of just need to get everything off of this rack. This rack is kind of awkward because it has a high rack for storing the clothing, but then there's a shelf right under it, and the shelf is just pretty much inaccessible when you have clothing on the rack. So I kind of just want to pull everything off of that rack and off the shelf and see kind of what I'm working with in there and go through all the clothing, figure out what I want to donate and what I want to keep. Some things I'm going to be storing upstairs in our loft space, and then I want to make the items that I have down here look really nice. I have some nice hangers that I'd like to hang them on. Eventually I might end up getting a nice rack for those, but for now it's kind of more utilitarian, just kind of get through the things, get prepped for later in this week when I'm going to be completely reorganizing this room and trying to make it more functional and a little bit more zen in here so that I can get work done without having to clean up constantly. Okay, let's just get started. I'm rambling. Let's just do this. Now I just want to go through and get all of this out of here. There's a box of fabric right down there, like packed full of fabric. And there's like stacks of fabric over here. I've got some travel stuff. I've got an old suitcase that I don't even use anymore. Actually, this suitcase is broken. I need to get rid of it. I've got some of my supplies stashed in here. Like I've got these storage bins here, not even using them. They're just stacked inside of each other. So got some shoes, and yeah, I'm gonna pull all of this out now and kind of get it out of the way. I probably need to get all this off the top here too. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going through and getting all of this out of here so that I can kind of see the floor and start making a plan for how I'm gonna get it all back in there eventually. Okay, so I've got a pile of clothes here from inside this closet. The closet is mostly cleaned out. I decided to just leave the boxes of fabric that I have in there for now. And then I'm gonna go through those next. My plan with the clothing is to create, I think, 3 piles. So I'll have a keep pile, a donate pile, and a discard pile. I did buy an extra clothing rack at Target yesterday, but I was thinking for most of my clothing for the time being, I might kind of create like a closet area in that loft and use a couple of garment racks to kind of store all of the clothing that I'm not reaching for on a daily basis, or things that are more seasonal and I need to just kind of store away for the time being that I plan to bring back out when the weather warms up a little bit. And most of the things in my wardrobe are either made by me or thrifted. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who's interested in exploring their creativity and learning new skills. Skillshare offers a totally ad-free learning experience so that you can stay focused on learning and not be constantly interrupted, which is so nice. And they add new premium classes every week, so there's always something new to discover on the platform. Recently, I discovered the class Romanticizing Your Life, a beginner's guide to creating vlogs for YouTube by Carrie Cakes. Carrie Cakes is a YouTuber with over 300,000 subscribers, and I was really interested to see what she had to say about vlogging. When I started my YouTube channel, I knew that I wanted it to be more than just straight sewing tutorials. I wanted to offer a little bit more of an insight into my own sewing journey, and I knew that I wanted to create more of an intimate experience between myself and my audience, you guys. In this class, Carrie breaks down the basics of storytelling in vlog format. She talks a lot about inspiration, how to make a plan for each video, and what to film, the different types of video styles that you need to consider. Anyhow, I really love that about Skillshare. I love that there are people who are actually doing the things that I aspire to do, that are sharing the knowledge of what they've learned over the years. If you are interested in exploring more classes, Skillshare is offering a 1-month free trial to the first 1,000 people that click the link in the description below this video. All right, let's get back to it. When I started sewing my own clothing, I really became much more particular about the kinds of items that I was going to buy if I bought something at a store, because I did realize, like, once I learned a little bit more about fit and making garments fit my body, that my clothing that I make fits me so much better than the clothing that I'm buying in the store. And a lot of times it's even better quality. Things that I keep, things that I bought, are things that, you know, I just really liked a lot and, you know, complement my wardrobe really well. However, I still do have things that I need to get rid of. And there are even things that I've thrifted over the years that I end up not wearing as much. They're great quality. I really think that they'd be great garments, but maybe I need to redonate them. I also have a few items in my wardrobe that I don't really wear, but I have a really hard time getting rid of them because they have sentimental value, mainly because I made them and I'm really proud of them. And so those types of things I'll just keep just because I feel like keeping them. So some places don't take donated handmade items. The thrift store that I use the most often, the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store, I'm pretty sure that they do accept donated items that are handmade. I don't know if they have any like tag requirements. I know that some places, if it is a handmade item, they want you to put the size on it and put a tag on it. It makes it easier for the shoppers to pick out the items that are actually going to fit them without having to try them on in the thrift store. I'm just going to put everything into those categories and try to get organized and start making a pile that will be donated as well, and try to kind of thin out my wardrobe as much as possible. And one more thing, I probably will also have a pile that will be dedicated to things that need to be mended or altered in some way. So this shirt is a great example of something that has some sentimental value that I don't want to get rid of. I don't really ever wear it, but I was just really proud of this make, and it's really pretty. I actually really like it. It's just not something that I ever really have much of an opportunity to wear. I just thrifted a bunch of these, like, what are they called? Magic skirts or something like that, and they were all these silk scarves used to make skirts. And then I took them apart and made this wrap blouse. This is a Berta pattern. If I can find it, I'll link it below. This was like an early thrift flip that I did when I was still kind of building my sewing skill set, and I just was really proud of it. I thought it turned out really pretty. It was a really creative piece for me to make, and I really want to keep it. So I'm definitely going to be keeping that. I have to kind of lean over a little bit. Also, I think I'm going to go ahead and put that rack together. I started kind of folding some of these pieces, and I'm actually thinking, you know what? I don't want to fold everything. So I think I'm going to put the rack together and use that to kind of help me keep things organized a little bit, because a few things I really want to keep on a hanger if I can. Just have to remember where I put it. It's in here somewhere. I have to find it, and then I'm going to put it together. So these pants, you may remember, are the jeans that I made and bleached, and you know, I held on to these because I felt really bad getting rid of them. I put so much work into these pants, but I have not been wearing them at all, and I think I'm going to donate these. So one thing that I actually love to thrift is sweaters, and I have quite a few sweaters here that I have thrifted over time. I tried to pick up knitting at one point and I just never could get super into it. It took too long. I was too impatient. So I really enjoy looking for sweaters every time I go to the thrift store because I have found some really, really nice sweaters and sweaters that I love and wear all the time. So I've got this fun little sweater with a collar on it. This is like a wool, let's see, what is this? Well, it's acrylic cotton and wool, but anyway, it's really comfortable. It's really cute with jeans. It's got a nice little color block detail. So I wear this one quite a bit. That one I will be keeping for sure. This is an H&M sweater. It's a little bit oversized and it's very comfy. I think it's cotton. I love this sweater. Very nice, chunky sweater. It's in excellent condition. I have found so many things at the thrift store that are in fantastic condition. Now this sweater is one that I thrifted a couple of years ago and I really love the color of this. This was one that I normally wouldn't kind of go for this color, but for some reason it just kind of spoke to me when I was at the thrift store. The only thing about this sweater is that the neckline is getting a little bit stretched out now. But I think I'm going to keep it just because I've worn it so much and it does kind of have that sentimental place in my heart, and yeah, I'm going to hang on to it. Now this sweater is a cowl neck sweater. This is a Banana Republic sweater. It's really nice and soft. The only thing is it's starting to get a lot of pilling on the fabric, and I was wearing this the other day actually and I thought, gosh, this sweater needs something. I'm not even sure what it is, so maybe eventually I'll crop it or something. So I think I'm going to put this in the mend or alter pile and come back to it later. This is a sweatshirt that I made like back when I first, like the first month that I started sewing my own wardrobe. This is the Grainline Studio, oh gosh, what is the name of the shirt? Anyway, I'll put it on the screen here. This is a fantastic sweatshirt pattern and I've gotten a lot of wear out of this particular shirt and I made it kind of cropped. So I found this French terry at Joann. It was like a really nice French terry for Joann. Occasionally Joann will have like really great fabrics. So just kind of out of the blue, they'll have like some really special fabric. This was one, it's kind of got these little flecks in it of different colors. I feel like it goes with a lot and I really like this. This is one of the first things that I made. I've gotten so much use out of it. When people are first thinking about starting to sew their own clothing, I think it can be really intimidating because you think, gosh, I'm not going to make anything that actually fits me or that I actually really like. It's probably going to be a lot of failed projects in the beginning, and some of my first projects that I ever made are still things that I wear to this day, like the Kelly Anorak, the Closet Core Ginger jeans, and the Grainline Studio shirts that I made, and Sew House 7 has some really great projects for beginners. I do get comments from people a lot who are a little bit intimidated by certain projects like pants or jeans. I kind of tackled those types of projects early on. I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to go for it, and was blown away by how well they went. And that's not to say that it's going to be that same exact experience for everyone, but you know, you never know, and you may end up with garments that you really super love and have a lot of sentimental value. So anyhow, long story short, I'm keeping this sweatshirt. Okay, so I have now gone through all the clothes that were in my closet and on my rack here. This rack is everything that I want to put in the loft, and I went ahead and put it on the rack just to help me stay organized, but I am going to have to like take it all off. All of this is going to go in the loft. This is mostly kind of warmer weather clothing and a couple of like sweaters and sweatshirts that I just don't wear as much, but I don't want to get rid of. And then this is the pile of things that I'm planning to donate so far. So it's not that much, actually. I'm actually kind of proud that it's not too many items. Okay, so it is the next day, and today I'm going to work on the fabric stash. I'm going to start with that big box of fabric in the closet, see if there's anything else in there that I want. For the things that I don't want, if they are big enough pieces of fabric that I feel like someone could actually make something out of, I'll probably just donate them to the thrift store. For the things that are just too small to do anything with, I might still keep those potentially as stuffing in a future furniture project, potentially. I have done that before. The ottoman that we have in our living room, I made that like a couple of years ago, and stuffed the cushion with fabric scraps. It worked pretty well, actually. It was a way for me to not have to get rid of a bunch of scraps, and it used up a lot of scraps. Closet Core Patterns actually has a scrap busting poof that you can use to fill with all your scraps, and you can use the scraps to actually make the poof because it's kind of like a quilted design. That's something that I've kind of thought about making before too. Now, the way that I like to store the fabric is on these little cardboard box pieces. I just wrap it around like little mini fabric bolts. And I got this idea from True Bias. They did a blog post a few years back about storing fabric, and they actually used magazine boards. And I ended up ordering some magazine boards because I think those would be better than the cardboard, because the magazine boards are probably going to be acid-free. So I ordered that. I don't know if it'll get here in time for this video, but I'll definitely share those in the next video once they come in. But I'll put a link down in the description to the ones that I ordered on Amazon if you'd want to get some for yourself. You know, between 1 yard to 2 yards fit nicely on those. But if it's a bulkier fabric, or if it's a fabric that I have a lot more yardage of, I'll usually just roll it and stick it in the shelf. And it's nice because with both of these methods, I can still see all the fabric that I have at a glance. I can pull things out without completely toppling the entire fabric stash. You know, it doesn't make everything kind of come falling out of the shelf. So I'm going to try to store most of my fabric in that way. And then if I have any tiny scraps, I'll probably put those in like a storage bin. I've got several storage bins actually around here that are just sitting empty. So I can use those for some of the smaller pieces that won't really fit around those boards. So I'm going to pull that box out and get that closet completely cleared out to prep for getting my sewing room organized and minimalized and all that good stuff. Okay, let's get started. Is empty. I've got my pile of unusable scraps that may become stuffing at some point, or some of which may end up in the garbage. Yeah, this is my shame pile here. And I've got a little stack here of fabrics that I'm going to donate. These are fabrics that I feel like are big enough to make a project out of, but are just fabrics that I'm not very excited about anymore. But I think, you know, maybe somebody else will get some use out of them. I've also got a stack here of denim scraps. I like to just keep denim scraps on hand for any kind of mending projects. So I've also included twill scraps with those as well. I also found a lot of muslin fabric, like big pieces of muslin fabric. So I didn't even realize I had all of that in that box, but it's just kind of like I would be working on a project, I needed to get it out of the way, and I would just like toss it in this closet. So glad I found all of those. I'm glad I went through the box for that because that'll come in handy later. These are kind of fabrics I'm not really sure. This pile and that pile, these are wovens, those are knits. They're not big enough for a project, but they're too big, I feel like, to throw away. So I'm going to just hang on to them a little longer, I think, and think on it and see what I want to do with those. Now that I've kind of made my way through the box, I think I'm going to start working on this little pile over here. On the ironing board, I actually have quite a few fabrics that I have plans for, so those will all be keep fabrics. I just need to organize them a little bit better. friends, I think that is all I'm doing for this week's video. I did make a lot of progress on my clothing and my fabric. I feel like I was able to go through and kind of weed out the things that I didn't need, which actually wasn't very much. One thing that I have really tried to do over the years with my sewing practice is only buy fabric that I have a plan for. That doesn't mean that I always follow that rule, but for the most part I have managed to keep my fabric stash pretty manageable. And that's also partly due to the fact that we've moved a few times, and I'm always kind of keeping in the back of my mind like, okay, if we have to move again, I'm gonna have to move all this fabric. I'm gonna have to look at this fabric. I'm gonna have to feel any shame or guilt about trekking this fabric around to different places and finding places to store it. So I'm always giving it my best effort to not have too much fabric on hand. Now with clothing, I'm not as good. I never have been as good with managing my clothing collection. I really like clothing. I've always loved shopping, and now I really love making my clothing. So I definitely have a lot of pieces that I don't wear on a regular basis, but I'm actually okay with that. As long as I have a system in place for storing everything and keeping it organized, I'm okay with it. I just have to kind of revisit the system every few months or at least once a year to make sure that it's not getting too out of control. Another good thing about going through all of my fabric and my clothing was finding things that I haven't touched in a while or things that I haven't worn in a while. I actually found several large cuts of fabric in that box that I forgot that I threw in there. It was almost like shopping my stash and finding new pieces, so I'm really glad that I did that. For next week's video, I'm going to be working on the rest of the sewing room. If I look behind the camera here, it is still pretty much, it's really bad back there. There's a lot of stuff that I need to go through. So I'm gonna spend some time over the next few days organizing all of that. So if you tune in next week, I'm going to be posting the video of my sewing room refresh, redesign, reorganization. Very excited to get into this. I really want to pare things down quite a lot in this room and put some systems in place that are easy to maintain. And hopefully all of that will be helpful for you too if you are looking for ways to get organized for the new year and maybe set up your own sewing space. So anyhow, I think that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more from me, please be sure to subscribe. Hit that little bell icon, that way you'll be notified when I release new videos in the future. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Bye.